Yeah, absolutely. And all guests are coming to you via the Fire Wings hotline. Try one of their delicious flavors of wings today. Fire Wings, just wing it. We always look forward to talking to Sean Salisbury each and every Friday at 8:05. Sean joining us here today. Sean, nobody likes seeing that injury last night to Patrick Mahomes, maybe the most exciting, if not the most exciting player in the NFL. It's all speculation now. How much will this damage the Chiefs in that AFC West?
Well, having a good backup matters. We've seen New Orleans with Bridgewater and what he's done, and Kyle Allen, he's undefeated, and Matt Moore's highly respected backup in the league. But he's a backup to Patrick Mahomes for a reason, because Mahomes is an electric football player that when I hear people say, well, they're not going to lose much or they'll be able to hang in there, and they may be able to hang in there. The AFC is fairly weak this year when it comes to depth, and, it's the Patriots and everybody else, and the Texans are getting better, but the 3 games or however long Patrick Mahomes is going to be out is the difference in winning the division or not making the playoffs. If this is extended, you're going to have to just change some of the things you do. That's just the reality of it, because Patrick Mahomes does stuff that Matt Moore can't dream about doing, or that many quarterbacks can't. So, yeah, it's a big loss. And if the Kansas City Chiefs just become a team, because their defense is putrid, they obviously got after Denver last night, but Denver's offensive line, we couldn't have blocked us 3 last night. So, to me, yeah, this is the equivalent of if Aaron Rodgers or Brady were out on their teams. That's how good this guy is for his team. And while Matt Moore will grind, Matt Moore can't make certain throws that Patrick Mahomes can. And if you're Andy Reid, now you're faced with the challenge of how do we approach this? Do we run the football more? Can Matt Moore put us in position to steal a few games? If it's an extended period of time, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be in danger of missing the playoffs because their defense, they can't get in the same shootouts without Mahomes. So, yeah, this is a devastating injury to, if you interviewed 32 general managers in the league and say you got the first pick, who would it be? 32 of them would take Pat Mahomes right now. So there you have it. It's a devastating loss, and depending on how long, it could disrupt the Chiefs' not only playoff but Super Bowl hopes they had in August going into the season.
Well, let me just pick up something you just said and cut to the chase, my man. If Patrick Mahomes, knock on wood, this doesn't happen, but if he's out for the remainder of the year, are the Raiders the favorite in the AFC West?
He's just talking about on my show. They have to be, don't they? The Chargers aren't any good.
Right.
The Denver Broncos aren't any good. And the Chargers with Rivers, they'll upset somebody. They'll be around, but they're not very good. The Raiders they're playing with energy. They're playing physical. Quarterbacks being efficient up. They run the football effectively. Gruden seems to have got John, stubborn's okay, but he also seems like he's willing to change a little bit, which a lot of people wondered if he would coming out of the broadcast booth as an old school, get off my lawn football coach kind of guy. Yeah, well, that just tells you right now, and I'm as a diehard Raider fan, I want to say, the Raiders are dominant, going to be great, but think about the AFC. Browns, they're in danger of their coach getting fired during the season. We look at what's going on in Kansas City, the Chargers, and their team's not very good. The AFC North, the second best team in the AFC right now, considering everything, is going to be the winner of this game in Indianapolis this weekend.
Yep.
And it's going to be the Colts or the Texans. And right now, the Texans, both of them went into Kansas City and won. The Texans, with their quarterback, you give them the advantage over Brissett, but that's it. So, and the Patriots' schedule has been easy. They're going to coast if this keeps up to home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and then we know how difficult it is to beat them there. So, yeah, I think you could probably say that the Raiders would be the favorite to win the AFC West at, 9 wins, I guess? And for us Raider fans, that'd be great, but you don't like it at the expense of Patrick Mahomes' injury.
So, Sean, you've experienced this, obviously, either as a starter or as a backup. When people talk about they have to do things differently when the next guy comes in, if that's a change of system, whatever it might be, who does that affect more than the other, as far as the other offensive guys, the running backs, receivers, tight end, line? Who else does that impact when you're changing your quarterback?
Well, it's going to impact the whole team, because the defense now is going to have to say, well, we can't let teams score 30. What are we going to do? And then the running game says, well, is there more onus on us? Which they'll love it. And then the receivers will say, okay, we got to do something different because we're not going to be able to push the ball vertically. Doesn't mean Matt Moore can't throw. But the stuff, the arm angle and off-schedule stuff that Pat does, and that you can extend an offense that you just can't now. Yes, I have been in both situations. And here's the problem is that the distance between Mahomes and Moore and the way they go about their game is so unique and different. It's huge. Like, for instance, New Orleans. Teddy doesn't have a strong arm. Drew Brees doesn't have a strong arm. Drew Brees is accurate, and Teddy Bridgewater's accurate. So you may lose because of Brees' experience. I'm not saying they're the same, but you didn't have to change much for them. You're going to hand the ball to Kamara. You're going to throw it to him out of the backfield. You're still going to get the ball. They were a short passing, mid-range passing game and tried to manufacture the deep ball. So you're not losing much. But and in my situation, when Wade Wilson was playing or being to Jim McMahon, Jim didn't have a strong arm, but when Jim went out, you didn't have to change anything because I was mentally had been in the league a long time and prepared. So the football IQ, I could throw it. I could make throws that maybe even Jim couldn't make, but Jim was a winner and a Super Bowl champ. So that Brian Billick and Denny didn't have to change much because we were close. You know, we had a pretty good idea what we were going to do, and they didn't. And it was a goal of mine as a backup for them not to have to change. So you didn't have to put more stress on Robert Smith or Terry Allen or make Chris catch 15 balls a game, Chris Carter. So that didn't have to. But the discrepancy, not that Matt Moore's not a good player, but it's so far. It's like if you went to say, even though Matt's been in the league, but Tom Brady is control of the offense and decided you were going to start playing a second-year guy and say, at the line of scrimmage, I want you to do what Tom does. Well, physically, how can now Matt Moore should know more about football than Mahomes in the NFL because he's been in the league longer and he should understand from the guys he's learned behind. But he just doesn't have the physical ability, the limitations that are placed on him. So if you're going to Kansas City Chiefs and you're going to lose that guy, and the league's going to lose that guy for an extended amount of time, if you're a 7 player, you better start playing like a 9. And that's exactly the responsibility and accountability you're going to bear because the discrepancy between Mahomes and any other backup in the league would be blatant, and it is in Kansas City.
Sean Salisbury with us. Sean, I don't say this lightly. Did the Broncos quit on Vic Fangio in that home crowd last night?
I hope not. You know, I hope it doesn't. It's so crazy. I was on a show. I go on in Denver every week, and I did in Kansas City both, and I went on both yesterday. And you know, I think a lot of people thought that Denver had a chance coming off 2 wins, and they'd been efficient. They'd started to run the ball pretty good with Lindsey, and they got after the last 2 weeks. The first 4 weeks, they didn't force a turnover. And then they thought, okay, it was sacks last week, and they're forcing turnovers and getting people to lay the ball on the ground and throwing it to them. This looks like the Denver defense are starting to buy into what Fangio's teaching. Well, then all of a sudden, bingo. They're playing a rival. Everybody thinks they got a shout on national TV, and they don't even show up. And so I don't know if the frustration of the game, if it's on Fangio. I would hope most athletes, just for their own self-pride, and when they go out there, don't quit. It looks like it to us in the naked eye. Like, do these guys care? I would hope that 6 weeks or 7 weeks into the season, that a head coach or that a team is so far removed from the head coach. It didn't look like it the last 2 weeks, but it did last night. So I would hope they didn't quit on him. But you know how that is, that inner fight that players go through. If we're getting our butt kicked, what do we do now? Or I don't like what coach is doing. The truth of the matter is that wasn't just on Fangio. That was on a piss-poor effort by the Denver Broncos on both sides of the ball, pushed around. It was they looked like a minor league team last night, and the fans deserve better. I would hope players in this league now don't quit on coaches just because they can collect a paycheck. I hope we're not at that state, and I would hope the Denver Broncos got a little bit more pride than that.
Sean, another quarterback situation in Tennessee. Mariota is going to go to the bench. Tannehill will start. Doesn't seem like either one's the most fantastic option, but I was thinking more about Mariota, and I don't know that there's one catch-all answer for this, but there's just so many Heisman Trophy quarterbacks that quite haven't panned out to what people think they could become. Do you have an answer as to why that could even be the case?
No clue. I don't know if it's coincidental. The Heisman, were big numbers in college, so if you can run and throw and put up big numbers in college, that doesn't necessarily translate or automatically carry over to being a great player in the NFL. Matter of fact, as you mentioned, most of the time it's different. That the guys that aren't Heisman Trophy guys end up playing better, but I don't think it necessarily like the Sports Illustrated jinx that all of a sudden, my gosh, you can't play in the NFL if you're a Heisman Trophy winner. Baker Mayfield, we thought after his rookie year this guy's going to be special. Now, he is struggling, but I don't think this is the real Mayfield. So with Mariota, I liked him better as a rookie and a second-year guy. And there's very few players I root for more in this league than him. He's such a good guy, and I know that doesn't mean results on the field, and a guy you root for. I do. I root for him. but he's not a franchise quarterback. The guy cannot carry your team to another level. While he can be accurate, one week you're like, okay, I see a shining light, and then the next week you're like, what? He's not setting his feet. His inability to feel. There's a time when it looks to me like he's lost all confidence. And over the last 2 years with injuries and performance, you cannot invest $100 million in him. Even if he would have went through this year and kind of had some good games back, he's not a franchise quarterback. Now maybe he can revitalize his career somewhere else. He will not be a Tennessee Titan and get a long-term deal there anymore. And if Tannehill can play halfway decent, Mike Vrabel's going to move on, and that franchise has to, just like they're probably going to end up doing in Tampa. So while a Heisman Trophy doesn't assure anything, I think a lot of pressure comes with that. The expectations when you're a Heisman Trophy winner in the first pick or the second pick, like Mariota was, or Jameis Winston the first pick, it's brutal responsibility. That's why you get paid, though. That's why certain guys, and DNA matters. And after 3 or 4 years, we start to see a different DNA and different dudes. Now this year, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa win the Heisman Trophy. Does that mean that Tua's not going to have a great career? No, he'd go on and be the best. Or Joe Burrow. Hell, Joe Burrow may be the first pick of the draft. And 18 months ago, the guy was run out of Ohio State because he got beat out by Dwayne Haskins because he wanted another shot somewhere else. So, hey, what are you going to do? But it is a weird dynamic. But I feel bad for Mariota. But the bottom line is you can't win a Super Bowl with him right now, whether it's mentally, emotionally, confidence, physically. He just is not getting it done. And it's been a trend with injuries and performance over the last few years.
Sean, just fasten the seatbelt. Got to ask. Somebody on the text line gave me this idea. I'll give them credit, or it's their fault. 9 games left in the season for the Chiefs. And if Patrick Mahomes is out for the season, you know a little bit about Matt Moore. Who runs the Chiefs' offense better for the remainder of the year, Matt Moore or Colin Kaepernick?
Oh, I don't know how you wouldn't say Matt Moore because he's there.
Okay.
I can't. When we say run the Chiefs on, I don't know why. And like I said, you guys know me. I'm not against Kaepernick's ability.
Sure.
I may disagree with the way he goes about certain things, but that's okay. We all have an opinion. Maybe I hate the dude or don't think he can play. I've told you when he's been out of the league. I don't know why people keep grabbing. He's been out of the league 3 years.
Sure.
I mean, and he may still be able to play. It's not whether. I mean, we know a lot of the reasons why he's not in the league. It's not because his talent, whether we like that or not. That's up to for each individual to decide. I don't know why people think Colin Kaepernick's going to walk off. He wasn't very good when he left the league. If you remember, when he had one that season at the end, his percentage was up, his completion percentage. When I say wasn't very good, it's not fair to him because we talk about numbers and the team wasn't good. The guy's a dynamic player, but you're going to throw Kaepernick in at the midway point. You're going to say, hey, come on in here, run around. You're not going to be able to learn the system like we want you to because you didn't go to training camp for 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks if we needed. But he's the answer all the time. Is he a better talent than Matt Moore? Of course he is. But if you're asking me who gives them the best chance to win the second half of the season with mentally, emotionally, physically been in there, it's Matt Moore. Physically, if we were just going to play in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, didn't have to worry about blitz pickup and learning the system and the verbiage and running a 2-minute offense, well, then Colin Kaepernick's going to win that contest. So I know everybody's going to grasp at it all the time, and I will never back away from my answer. The guy's a talented player. Is he more talented than the 31st best quarterback in the league? Maybe. But when are we going to eventually, you can be pissed all you want at the NFL or owners for not letting him play. I get that. But when are we going to get to the point of saying, you know what? Okay, let me ask you, who ran the offense better? Matt Moore right now or Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
Manning's been removed from the league a couple of years. I mean,
right.
We're going to have him come back? Well, you'd say, well, mental.
The Drive.